Hey, welcome back to the Big Rant Show. As always, thank you for joining me. If you could, hit the subscribe button down below and let's get right to it. Well, apparently, some fairly big news happened throughout the week while I was gone. I hope you're able to watch some of the short videos I put out. I had one video that got absolutely no views, didn't even end up in any of the recommendeds anywhere, and I'm sure it didn't make anybody's notification boxes as well. But overall, most of those videos did pretty good considering how short they were. I think the small number of views that they had were pretty good, I suppose. Anyhow, I wish they had done a little better, especially my one over the NFL and Des Bryant and Calvin Johnson, and how they both caught the ball and how the rules kind of need to change. But let's get right to the big news for the week. There was a lot of news that came out this week. One of the first bits of news that I'll pass on to you had to do with North Korea. North Korea and Kim Jong-Un apparently have decided they are willing to talk in, unilateral talks with the Trump administration to disarm their nuclear arsenal. Now, from what I've read and everything, they don't have that many nuclear weapons, but it only takes one. And so there's been a lot back and forth on what we should do here. They're saying Kim Jong-un wants a meeting with Donald Trump as early as May. Trump has said the Trump administration has said they would do this. But the problem isn't Trump. Now, sure, Trump could say something that really starts off, that does something that really screws something up really bad. Because he's not great with words. He's not great with, saying the right thing. But also, though, the biggest problem I see is North Korea itself. They have tried to come to the table and talk with the U.S. and other in the world in the past, and in the end, they always renege on their promises. People are all worried about Iran, but so far Iran's actually been following their protocol for the deal that was signed. North Korea has a history of not following the protocol or the requirements of their provisions in the things they sign. At the end of the day, I don't believe this to be a very wise thing for us to deal with. I don't think talking to them actually does anything except really give them a stage to spew their propaganda and make their people think that he's some kind of, God. Unfortunately, though, it has to be done. Unfortunately, we need to talk to them. Diplomacy is one thing we need to work on, because a war with North Korea inevitably would end up using nuclear warheads. Why do I believe that? Because this guy's crazy. He's as crazy as his father, if not crazier. And for him, it's all about the way he looks to his people. And if he looks weak, he's going to respond. And that's one way he will respond in case of war. I guarantee you, at least in nothing else, South Korea would take a hit unless they've reunified, which scares the hell out of me. But I saw some attacks of Donald Trump for agreeing to this meeting. Some people on the left were attacking him, telling him talking about how horrible it was for him to be even considering this meeting, and this and that. I'm like, wait a minute. Back in 2009, when Barack Obama took office, and he stood up there on that podium and gave his inauguration speech and said that he would have an open hand, basically extending the olive branch to anybody out there that wants to be peaceful. He said he would have those talks. He would have talks with Iran, Cuba, or whoever, with nothing, no preconditions, none at all. And you cheered him. Those of us on the left cheered him for that peaceful approach. It's also that approach that led to his Nobel Prize, which may or may not deserve it down the road with some of the other actions we took. But if you supported these unilateral talks when Barack Obama was in office, then should you not support those same talks when Donald Trump is in office? It's the same thing, trying to do the same thing. We're trying to bring about a peaceful solution to a potentially fatal problem. A nuclear North Korea who just, for whatever reason, wants to launch an attack. So I commend Donald Trump for at least considering this meeting. I think Donald Trump needs to take the meeting. It scares me to an extent because of Donald Trump being Donald Trump. But at the same time, it's a meeting I think needs to happen. It has to happen. We can't just sit there and fall into, let it devolve into a war, all because we never gave it a chance at peace. And down the road, if it turns out that Kim Jong-Un is as much of a liar as his father was, then fine. We do what we have to. Whether if that means military action, then so be it. But we at least have to give peace a chance. I think this is something good for the country. I think it's something that needs to happen. I think it'd be really good for the Trump administration. And I know many of my liberal friends are going to be like, but what? Donald Trump is going to do what he feels he needs to do. And hopefully what he feels we need to do is stay out of a war with North Korea. And by taking these talks and saying that he will have this meeting with Kim Jong-un, I think is a great idea. And I think it's a step towards peace. Or at least a step towards the status quo of keeping us out of a war with North Korea. That said, you don't know how this will turn out. We don't know if Donald Trump will say something wrong that'll piss off the North Koreans. We don't know if the North Koreans will say something to piss off Donald Trump. We've got two people that are not emotionally all there, it doesn't seem at times. Going to be in a room together. So this could be very interesting. So I suggest you keep watch on that. And really, at the end of the day, definitely keep tabs on what's going on in North Korea. There's also been talks of possible attempts at unification of North and South Korea. And to be honest with you, nuclear-armed South Korea that's pissed at the United States because we didn't try peace with the North is not something I want to see. So, that said, hopefully these work, and we're at least putting forth the effort. Whether or not they take it, whether or not they actually follow through on whatever bargains are made, whatever deals are done, that's for them to do. That's for them to decide what they're going to do. And if they renege on it, Lord help us all. In other Donald Trump news, apparently, Donald Trump is rather mad at Sarah Huckabee Sanders over his porn star girlfriend, Stormy Daniels. Apparently, Donald Trump didn't want it out of the bag that they had gone to arbitration at one point. Now, apparently this arbitration was unbeknownst to Stormy Daniels. She was not notified to be there or anything. It was just a quiet, sneaky thing they did to get an injunction to try to keep her from talking about what was happening while they worked it out, for a later arbitration hearing. But Sarah Huckabee Sanders kind of let it out of the bag the other day. It was like, this already been won in arbitration, blah, 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 blah. Thus, basically admitting that the stuff with Stormy Daniels happened, and that, much we already knew. But he's kind of apparently mad at Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who did not come to work was not at work the next morning for the press conference. Somebody else did the press conference. And that's really all we got on that. But it just goes to show you that Donald Trump is trying to hide some stuff. And especially this. And I don't understand at this point, I don't understand why he's trying to deny it. It's obvious that what happened. Because she wouldn't have had this article out in 2011, way back when, just for fun. She wouldn't have made this article, and then took hush money. But of course, now Stormy Daniels says that the agreement the NDA that they signed, apparently was signed by Trump's lawyer and never signed by Donald Trump himself. So she doesn't feel that she has to follow that NDA. So I guess we will see what happens on that. Keep tabs on that, and watch this space, and I'll let you know down the road what comes up with that. But at the same time, it's not really our place to really care all that much about what kind of affairs he's had. If you're if you're one of those super Christian folks that believe that marriage is between a man and his wife, and you should not be philandering around, then sure, you should have a problem with it. But most of them don't. Personally, an affair is not something I think that we all should be droning over. But the lies about it, it's just it doesn't add up. There's no reason to lie like this, Donald Trump. There's no reason to lie about it. Just fess up to what you did, move on. People will forgive you. Case closed. It's not a big story later. In my last bit of news on Donald Trump, apparently he will get his military parade. It'll be on Veterans Day, but it will be sans tanks. We will not be having tanks rolling down the streets of Washington, mostly because of an infrastructure issue. These tanks weigh so much that they will destroy the ground underneath them. And that's not something we can do with our already crumbling infrastructure we have in places. And it's not something we need to have rolling down Pennsylvania Avenue either. The roads just aren't built for that right around there right now, and it's just not something we need to be doing. And so I guess that'll save a little bit of money, but if Donald Trump's going to have a parade, it's going to happen. Nothing we can do to stop it, really, even though I think it's a huge waste of money. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more content, and I'll see you down the road.